Hi. And I just wanted to introduce you today to what's kind of what has come to be known as visible mending. So it's a way of mending clothes where we're not trying to hide the fact that we're mending it. We really want it to stand out. So it's actually becomes its own creative art form in and of itself, and it makes it a lot more fun to do. At least I think so. So my first experience with this was, I have a cat that likes chewing up my clothes sometimes. It's a really weird thing for a cat to do, but he likes things that are really soft. And I had this pair of pants, which I'll show you here. They're like lounge pants. And he chewed up the cuff of both legs, like just took chunks of it out. And I was heartbroken because I really love these pants. And I remembered that this visible mending thing was something people were doing. So I looked into it, and this was my first attempt. And it's probably still one of my favorite projects. And I'm going to show this to you on the other camera when I switch over in a second. I think you'll be able to see it better, but that's basically the idea. And it doesn't have to be mending something that really is what's the word, like hampering to wearing the clothes. You know, a lot of jeans and stuff these days come with all those holes in them. And I find that while I appreciate those as much as the next person, and I usually leave those alone, I find that with a lot of washing, they tend to especially wear out and they get a little bit too raggedy. So this is an option too. You can just sort of enjoy it how it comes for a while, and then maybe add something to it so that you can enjoy it for longer if it's a pair of pants that you really like. And I am going to be showing you specifically working on a pair of jeans today. So let's just switch over and I will start, and I'll show you some other examples too. So I was talking about the embroidery thread. Did you catch that?
Nothing. We caught when you turned your camera on, your new camera, it just you froze. So if you want to start.
Okay, well, I'm just going to leave it over here now then, in case
okay.
that was something weird. So
yeah.
Anyway, I was talking about how when I first started with this project, I was using regular embroidery thread, which is great because it comes in so many awesome colors. But what I found was you know, sometimes when you're using embroidery thread and you're running it through the fabric a lot, it gets really kind of worn out and kind of raggedy. If you've done a lot of stitching through any type of heavier fabric, you would find that's the case. And so what I discovered, I was curious about trying the actual Sashiko thread. And as it turns out, it is much more durable than embroidery thread. So it's pretty much all I use now because it doesn't get knotted up as easy when I'm working with it, though it still does. I get, you know, a little knot or two every single time I use it. I think that's just inevitable, but it happens a lot less, and it also doesn't break when I'm trying to get the knot apart. So it's just really strong. And I also tend now to just use white. I've just found that I really like the white stitches on everything, and it really kind of ties everything together. So this does come in a big variety of colors, as Karen, you showed me your thread is really cool. So it's really fun. You can use it, you know, however you would express yourself and anything else. Feel free to use colors. I just usually stick with white. And it comes like this in a skein, but it doesn't pull out like the embroidery thread that we're used to. So it has to actually be, you have to kind of unwind it and clip it. So I usually end up just rewinding it on something like this piece of plexiglass. I've used cardboard before. It just makes it easier to work with instead of trying to finagle it out of the skein every time. But let's see, what else do I want to mention before I started? Sashiko needles are also really awesome. I found that they, again, when sewing through heavier fabrics, they hold up a lot better. They're just super, super strong. And I've had other needles break, embroidery needles break on me when I've been doing this kind of thing. So yeah, what can I say? I guess they're really the Japanese people really know what they're talking about when it comes to mending because their materials really hold up well. So let's just kind of get started. there's kind of two approaches that I've found that you can take with this sort of thing. And I'm actually going to show you, I'm going to kind of be repairing both of these holes on here. And these are ones that came like this as the shorts. One way is to put, let's see, where's my fabric here? Okay, one way is to put some fabric, of course, over the top of the hole. But another way is to have fabric underneath the hole. And actually, I'm going to cut some of this away. And it just gives it a totally different look. So we're seeing the fabric still, but it's underneath, it's on the inside. So the other way, of course, is to put something, a piece of fabric on the top, on the outside. Both ways are cute. I've done a little bit of both with this project here. You can see these patches are both on the outside and on the inside. Here, you know, I didn't worry about cutting this out because I wasn't going to see this, but you can see what the stitches would look like on the outside if you want to put your fabric behind the tear on the inside. So, yeah. So let's get started. So for this one first.
Tonia, I have a question.
Yeah.
I ask. Just maybe for people who have never used the Shashiko thread, can you describe, because I'm actually opening up mine for the first time.
Yeah, I'll open this one up.
Like how the heck do you start, you know, the winding thing?
I will show you.
Awesome.
Okay, so as you discovered, you just take that paper off, and then it's a little tricky to kind of open it at first, but it should, like you found that piece that's ties it together. There's a piece that ties it together, and you should be able to open up the whole thing like this. Okay. This is how yarn often comes also when you buy a shank of yarn. So you open it up like this, and that part that's tying it together, you have to actually cut that off.
Okay.
And it is holding both ends of the thread.
Okay.
So then what I usually do is I stretch this over something like the end of a table, or I'll put it over my ironing board. And it's a little tedious, but I'll just pull it out and then wrap, and then pull some more out and wrap until I have it all done. And because it is a little tedious, that's why I like to get it done ahead of time, so I don't have to stop in the middle of my stitching to wrestle with getting more thread out. Now, sometimes I won't do the whole skein. I will just pull out, say, enough for a particular project. If you want to do that and you don't want this to end up as a big mess afterwards, what you do is you twist it like this, so it's kind of tight, and then you kind of let it twist back on itself, and then I just store it that way. I just set it aside, and then it's easy for me to once again open it up, you know, and pull more thread out. Does that help?
That is perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you bet.
Because I would never get started if I wouldn't be able to figure that out.
Yeah, and the first couple times I was fighting with it because I was trying to pull some out and it would start getting tangled up, and it was really frustrating to me. So I much prefer it like this. So I have a couple patches here to show you. And the other thing I want to mention is you don't have to turn over the edges. They don't have to be finished. By stitching all the way around it, we're going to keep it, it's going to fray a little bit when we wash it if we just have it unturned like this. But that will stop at a certain point where the stitch is, and it won't get any worse. So if you prefer the kind of more ragged look, which sometimes I do, don't worry about turning the edges under. Okay, you can use it, you can cut out a shape and just use it as it is. It's not a problem. I have just only recently started actually turning mine over just because I want a different look now. I'm bored with the other way, so now I'm doing it this way. So if I'm going to do it behind the fabric, then I've turned it this way so that when it's under here and I'm washing it, the finished edge is on the inside. but we're going to be able to see the top of the fabric through the outside. If I was sewing this on the outside, like I'm going to with this, then I would turn, you know, the wrong sides to one another and have it be like this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So for getting started with this one, as I mentioned, I'm going to just cut away some of these threads here. I might leave some of those for effect up at the top there. And
in most instances, that would be scary because you're cutting a bigger hole in the pants.
yes, exactly. Yeah, you're making it more vulnerable to.
That's a commitment.
Rating. Absolutely. So now, see, when this is under there, I'm going to be able to see it. And I think that's kind of cute. So that's the one I'm going to do first. So I'm going to be using my piece where I turned the edges over this way. And what I'm going to do is I am going to be working on the inside. So let me turn this wrong side out so it's easier for me to work with. Okay, and I'm going to get length of thread, and I, you know, use whatever length is comfortable to you. I usually use about 4 feet at a time. And my needle. Now, a lot of sashiko needles are really long, and that's the idea with that is so that you can get several stitches in one pass. But I have not, I've not found an easy way to do that for more than one stitch. So I don't use a needle that's really long. Mine is pretty, pretty average in length, I guess. Okay. Oh, and the other thing that's different about this sashiko thread from the embroidery thread is it's not meant to be taken apart into multiple strands like embroidery thread is. It's just kind of its own weight. So you don't try and take it apart. It'll be too thin. You just use it as it is. So I am still going to tie a knot in the end to start. And I'm going to center it on here. Now, to position it on while I work with it, I have a couple of options. I can use straight pins and kind of pin it in place so it doesn't move around on me as I'm working. The other thing that I've found that I really love, and I kind of feel like a cheater with it, but is fabric glue. Fabric glue, if you use it sparingly so that you don't have any noticeable amounts of it, is washable. So it won't, you know, I guess I could use this to actually attach something without even sewing it. And supposedly it would hold up pretty well. But I like this just to hold it in place sometimes, especially on other projects that I'm working on that aren't clothes. I just find it so much easier than those pins in my way all the time. So that's what I'm going to use. And I'm not going to use a lot of it. And I'm just
great tip.
Yeah. I'm just going to kind of dab some of it around here. And it's really light. So I don't want it to actually push through and then be visible on the other side. And I'll position it there. And it dries pretty quickly too, which is, you have to act quickly with it, as I've discovered, or it's dried and it won't work. But that's good because then you don't have to wait for it to dry to start stitching. So I'm just gonna kind of get my knot under the fabric here. And that's just because I'm a little anal about this kind of thing, but it's good. It's the back, so you're not gonna see it anyway. So it doesn't matter. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do just a straight stitch all the way around, kind of like you see here. I'm just going to do just up and down, all the way around. And I'm going to try and sew pretty close to the edge here, especially since this is folded and I don't have to worry about it fraying if I get too close to the edge, because I just want it to be really secure. Now, if I was going to do a sashiko stitch, I would just stitch it in, and then stitch next to it as close as I can. But for this first round, I like to have my stitches a little closer together. So I'm just going to do it one stitch at a time. And this will take me probably about 3 minutes to get all the way around. I see my glue. I didn't probably put quite enough glue down there, but.
I have a question while you're stitching.
Mm-hmm.
That beautiful needle case, did you make that?
One of my students made that for me. It was so sweet. I've done a few courses that involve stitching, and so she made that for me.
It's gorgeous. That would be a fun class.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
And she actually used Sashiko stitching on here.
I see that.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it was a wonderful gift. And the whole thing with this, really is to just take your time. I'm hurrying a little bit for your sake, but when I do this on my own, I just love the slow pace of it.
It's very relaxing, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
Elaine, do you have a question?
Yes. Well, not a question. I've got a needle holder.
Oh,
Ooh, you
It's got
do.
wow.
Cool.
red peppers, but on the other side, I'm still hot. But now it comes in flashes.
I hear that.
I love it. Did you make that, Elaine?
Well, I started one and then we made them for other people, but a friend gave me, because I didn't find this one, but she gave it to me, and I always thought, yeah, that's what happens.
That's funny. I remember those hot flashes.
Doctor said I'll have them forever, and I have. They are forever.
Wow, really?
Mine have calmed down over the, I used to have them so bad, I'd say, oh my God, power surge. Or
Yeah.
I'd say, tropical moment, here we go. And I just felt like a big hot rod was just going up my back, and oh my gosh. And they've sort of calmed down. Once in a while I'll get one.
Oh.
But
In the middle of winter, I put the windows down in
Yeah.
the car. In the car.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're very unique in their, it's only people who've gone through them probably would know how they feel. They're just,
I just started about a year ago.
oh, welcome to the club.
Yes, lots to look forward to.
Yeah, mine came suddenly though. Mine were like a sudden onset after my surgery. It was like, boom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this would be fun to do the stitching in front of a TV show. Like if you want to watch, if you're like my husband and I like to watch TV at night, and I would prefer to have my hands busy. So this would be a great thing to do.
Yeah, it would. And it's, I think even better than say doing like a counted cross stitch or an embroidery thing that requires a little bit more focus. This is, yes, it requires some for sure, but it's so forgiving. Like if your stitches aren't absolutely perfect, it has character. It's still cute. It still looks good. It doesn't have to be, there's nothing fancy about the shapes, of my patches or, yeah, it's very forgiving. So in that way, it's perfect for doing it at the same time as having a conversation or, as you said, watching TV.
And what I think it's great about seeing what you showed so far is the kind of the organic or just sort of not perfect look. That just makes it even better because the tear itself is imperfect, and then you have the repair that's not perfect, and that's what makes it really beautiful, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I know I've thrown a lot of clothing away because it would have a tear in it, and now I wished I hadn't thrown that stuff away.
Yeah, especially, like I said, I started with that pair of like lounge pants, pajama pants, and I just was like, it just was so sad at the thought that I wouldn't be able to wear them. And I kept them for a while before even deciding on this process because I thought, well, maybe I could like cut the whole bottom off and sew on like a, you know, a whole different part. But then I discovered this visible mending and I thought, wow, that's perfect.
What would you do if you had a stretchy, like t-shirt material? How would you just do the same thing, but with the stretchy patch?
Yeah, that's what I used on here.
Okay.
And this is stretchy, and
Okay.
I used that just to keep it that way. I used, you know, I didn't want it to be too different of a fabric than this. Now in the case of the jeans, that's different. You know, you could repair it with other denim, of course, but that's a little bit harder to sew. And, you know, it doesn't need to be stretchy. So having a contrasting fabric is just a little bit more interesting.
I think it'd be fun just to do that, even on clothing that's not torn. Just to kind of create
yes,
that.
absolutely.
When I was younger and had hands that didn't hurt all the time, I did embroidery on a denim jacket.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Could not do that now.
I remember the denim days where we would
Mm-hmm.
patch everything, and that was fun. I think it's coming back, but in a more sophisticated way, you know, different.
Right. Okay, I'm a little more than halfway here. And depending on where your hole is, you know, in your garment, it can be a little awkward to hold, as you can see. I keep kind of moving it around to get the best spot for my hands.
Do you find that you need a thimble? I'm one of the, I always poke my fingers when I do stuff.
Yeah, I poke my fingers too. I've tried using a thimble. I'm just not very good at it. I guess I haven't given it enough effort. Because when I am doing this for a long time, like I have a bigger project or on some, you know, not mending, but other stitching, hand stitching things, my fingers do get kind of sore, for sure.
The hazards of crafting.
Yeah.
Well, eventually one of your fingers becomes so callous that it's almost its own thimble. So
Yeah, it would for sure.
in hand quilting,
Oh,
I couldn't use a thimble very well. So after a while, it just became its own thimble.
that's right. I have a friend that gave me a rubber one that I thought maybe I could stand to use. But then it just makes my finger sweat, and, you know, I don't know. It's like I don't wear gloves either. I hate wearing gloves, you know, to do anything. I just like it.
There's a leather thimble that works.
A what?
A leather.
Oh, leather. Yeah, I've seen those.
This is one of them.
That would be better.
Is that a leather one, Elaine?
That's leather.
Oh.
This one is really good. It has openings so you don't.
Oh yeah. See,
And
that
it's
would have
got
been better.
these nubbies. And
Elaine, can you share where you got that?
this is a Clover item. You can get it in any store. These I first bought down in Amish country years ago, and now they have them in all the stores. And it's a very pliable plastic. Or
It's like rubber.
it reminds me of a gummy bear, like.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
then
you got a silicone, possibly?
that's the old-fashioned one.
Ah, yes.
And where's the? I got another one.
Another thing I could mention is, depending on where your hole is, if it's somewhere like a knee or something that gets a lot of wear, I will usually put actually a patch on the inside and the outside, both.
Oh.
If it's just in a place like this where it's just decorative, you know, that's not required, but it doesn't, like that, the one on the sample of my shorts with the pocket that was ripped that we were talking about, that has a patch on the inside and the outside because it's in a, let's see, you wouldn't call it high traffic, but you know, it's in a high use area. Okay, so I've gone all the way around. Now for the rest of this, I'm gonna actually turn it right side out again, and I'm gonna work on the outside. so I can see my stitches, because we're going to add more stitching to this. Okay, so now, isn't that cute already?
Fun. That's fun.
And I basically have now literally a visual of where that patch is. So if I want to stitch outside of it, I can, but I don't need to. I can just I have now an idea of the area that I want to fill in. And I am going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a series of stitches, and I'm going to go in a spiral to the inside. And I have no idea what it will look like, but we'll find out. So I'm going to start, and I am going to use the Sashiko stitch to do this. So I'm just gonna, my stitches tend to be about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna go down, and then I'm gonna go back out, and it usually ends up being a little bit more between than the stitch, but that's okay. And this goes much faster because there's a little fewer stitches. And as I get to these areas where the needle might just pull through, I'm just going to try and do my best and make it go in an area that's going to hold. I don't know if that made any sense, but. And I'm kind of working about maybe 3/8 of an inch from my outside line here. And I found, you know, really the maybe we could call it the science behind all these stitches is it really makes the fabric more durable. So it's not purely decorative. It really does make everything a lot more solid. And I'm sure that's how it came into being, because people really did need their clothes to last a lot longer. So see, this is going much faster because I'm able to, I don't have to do 1 stitch at a time. I'm basically doing like, what would that be? 1.5.
I like the
One
texture.
complete stitch each time. What's that?
The texture. I think it's, yeah, it's starting to take on a texture, and it's really
Yep.
neat.
And it kind of puckers a little bit. Yeah, like it was quilted, which I guess it kind of is quilted.
The fabric that you used, that's really neat. Where did you, is that like a quilter's
This
fat
this
quarter
fabric?
type?
Yeah, and actually my shirt that I'm wearing today, I made, so this was a scrap from this fabric that I ordered for my shirt, and I got it online. I think it's an Etsy store, but I love her fabric. It's called Fat Stack Fabrics. I can send you the link if you like.
That would be great. Fat Stack Fabrics
Mm-hmm.
on Etsy.
These are the 2 leather thimbles that I use. I
Ooh.
mostly like this one because it has a little metal plate in it.
Oh yeah.
Those are
I
great.
like that one that just goes over it where the tip of your finger is still outside.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I like
that?
that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I need to get one.
And you can, you can make this as elaborate or not elaborate as you like. I could have left it without these stitches on the inside and it still would have been fine. I could have put my stitches in these rows a lot closer together, made a lot more rows. That's kind of where the personal expression part comes in. And I'm just, just sewing right over this torn, messy part.
Oh. Here's another one. This is all metal.
Oh.
And when you put it on, Depends. You don't have to wear it on a certain finger, whatever one you want. And then your needle just touches the metal.
Oh,
Whoa.
yeah.
Yeah, I've
And
seen a picture. Go ahead.
it's adjustable. You can pull it apart and yeah, I don't want to do that part, but um, I'm used to the other ones. I've tried it, but it's not my favorite.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But I wear it like that.
Ah,
Actually, I do most of my mending on the sewing machine. So this is
Yeah.
nice.
It's pretty different, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Alexis, you had something you.
I've seen a picture of a Sashiko woman doing it, and she had that same thimble, but she was wearing it down here and pushing her needle way down here.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think that's the picture I sent you, Karen.
Oh, yes. Oh, you gave me that beautiful, all that information on that. I haven't had a chance to go through it, but now I'm really super fascinated and I want to tear some things on purpose.
I know.
I think my husband might have some holy genes. I don't know if he'd like the the mending part,
The look, yeah.
but I think I like it. It's just
So I'm getting
fun.
pretty close to the inside end here.
So that is a lot faster, Tonya.
Yeah, yeah. It's, and again, I'd be taking my time and going a little bit slower normally. But I
Especially
do
if
also
wearing
want
a
to show you
thimble.
one more thing.
So does this Shashiko thread, how does it hold up to bleach and other, is it pretty strong?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't use bleach too often to be able to
Yeah.
tell you. But I bet it would. Yeah, I'm sure it would because the cotton fibers in your clothes would hold up to it, so it would be about the same. It's just a really high quality cotton, basically. Okay, so I'm just going to end with one stitch in the center there. And then the way I tie it off is I'll probably just tie one knot here on one of the stitches. And then I'm just going to weave this through the fabric and then trim it off. And you might be able to see that on the other side. I don't know. Set that there. Yeah, see, there it is. So it's fine, I've tied a knot. It'll be good. And if it falls apart, then I can just go back and mend it again. So that's that technique when it's the fabric on the inside. And there's lots of variations on the stitches you can do. Of course, I'm sure you've seen some of them with the crosses, X's, just lots of vertical lines. I really like this circular stitch for some reason. I tend to use that one a lot. And I want to show you a smaller thing that I want to do here. And I'm actually going to do the stitches. I'm going to go outside of the area just to sort of tie these two together and also really show you, you can see it here pretty well, just how the personality that the stitches have. But I really think it's going to be cool to do that on here. So should we do this other one? Are you up for that?
Sure.
Okay.
You're up for it.
Let me get another length of thread here.
I like the red. I like that little red accent.
I'm really into this, lately, this red fabric, and I like this one too. Obviously, I ordered it. It reminded me of stars, like.
It would be great to have the links of those of that store you talked about. If I can't find it,
I'll
Well,
definitely send it to you because I've ordered from them like 3 times. They have some really beautiful fabrics, and it's great quality cotton. It's really high thread count, I guess. Okay, so this one, I'm just going to cover this up, and I'm going to do this on the outside, and I'm going to try my glue again. And I've ironed the inside, ironed the edges so that it's finished. And pretty good. And I'm going to do the same thing to start. I'm going to just sew along the outside. And let's see, did I tie a needle? I did, or a needle and a knot. So let's just put the knot in here. Okay. This technique also kind of reminds me of the Alabama Shannon reverse applique. If you're familiar with that, I love that look as well. And you could do that. That would be deliberate. You could use a stencil and cut out shapes.
ooh,
And then, have your decorative fabric behind those.
that sounds
They
great.
did an entire skirt that way. I made my own butterfly stencil and I actually stenciled with fabric paint on the fabric and then cut away, leaving about 1/4 of an inch of the paint showing, so I had a painted edge, and then I did the reverse applique underneath it.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, it was cool. Took a long time.
But well worth it.
It was, yeah. It's so fun to wear stuff that you've added your own touch to also, I think. Have any of you sewn your own masks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. It's not my favorite thing to make though.
No.
It'd be fun to do this mending purpose, like do something
I
like,
thought of that. Yeah, I haven't done it yet, but I had that thought.
why not? Or maybe stitch on a filter holder that way, but in the inside, but to have the stitching on the outside. I think that would look really neat. Have some expressive looking masks.
Well, people are doing that anyway, right? Just with the fancy fabrics, and they're kind of
It's becoming
expressing
fashion.
themselves anyway.
Yeah.
Putting sequins on them too now, sparkles.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Awesome.
My daughter bought a mask that lights up.
Really? Oh my God.
My daughter Lauren, actually. She's funny.
Karen, don't you have the shoes that light up?
I was just going to say, I wonder where she gets that
Well,
from.
that's right. Apples don't fall far from the tree. She used to be so embarrassed with some of the things I do, but she's doing the same stuff.
I love it. As I'm working, I'm noticing I'm having to avoid the pocket on the inside. I'm having to make sure I don't catch that when I go through. Which I guess I could just do that, but then my thread's going to catch it on this side. So it's going to be in the way one way or the other, but at least I won't sew it shut now.
So I'll have to share with you my mess. I'm trying to roll
Oh,
on.
I know. That's why I'll put it like half of it, like one part of it on a doorknob or something, and then I'll
Yeah.
hold the other hand. It's if you have a helper, you know, it's easy. You can have somebody just keep it stretched out.
But I knew this would be the biggest challenge, would be to put this on, you know, get enough thread onto the onto something so I can use it. So that's a good, this is a good lesson.
Well, I'm glad you asked about it, because the first time I used it, I thought it would pull out like a regular skein of embroidery floss, which still sometimes, you know, doesn't play nice either. I think you're always supposed to go from one direction, but I never remember which one that is. I think it's from you're supposed to pull it from the bottom down. Oh, see, I got my first little knot there, but came out.
This would be an exercise in patience, and I'll get it, I'll do it. And just as long as, I guess if you have a mess like this, you can just take out enough and then cut it off and use it for a smaller project, right?
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
you could do that.
Not all is lost.
We're creative people, we're creative problem solvers.
So I have to share with the group, if you remember our little popsicle, our little stick people that we made, well, that's going to be my thread holder.
Oh, that's good. There you go.
That's
She
cute.
can help with the thread.
And she's a little Japanese girl, so that's perfect.
Perfect.
How did you know?
She has, yeah, her little washi tape outfit. I knew there'd be a use for it.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it off. I'm going to tie this off, and I'm going to start again in a different location. So just tie a knot here. Maybe I'll just kind of weave that in there a little bit. Now I'm going to tie a new knot, because I'm going to start in a different area. And now I'm just going to add some stitches, just purely for stitching. And let's see. Start about here. Yeah. And I'm just going to make some lines. And I'm going to go right over the top of that patch that's there. Maybe one more. Okay, now I'm going to complete this stitch, but I'm going to come up next to it, because I'm going to make another row now going back this direction, the opposite direction.
And if you decide you wanted to do cross, you can do all kinds of decorative stitches right here.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, they make, you know, just like they do for embroidery, they make transfers that you can actually transfer to your fabric and then follow those stitches if you like. That doesn't appeal to me, but I've seen them. And I could have them all line up the same, or I could make the lines different lengths if I wanted. I think, well, maybe I'll do that. And start another row. And I think I'm going to do probably like 5 rows. Who knows? Maybe 3 will look good. And I could get more than 1 stitch on my needle like this. I just find that once I start doing that, the stitches get a lot longer and farther apart. And I just don't like how that looks as much. So I have a hard time doing more than just 1 stitch like this.
Maybe for the thinner fabric, you could do the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really coming together very nicely.
Yeah, it's cute, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'll finish this and then I'll just show you I'll show you the other samples again and just talk a little bit more about what I did to give you some ideas of your other options. The one pair of shorts that that I showed you, I bought recently online, and when they came, they were too small, which nobody likes that, but there I was. And I thought, well, I could send them back, but I had seen on Pinterest that some people had expanded the waistline of their pants. And I thought, well, if it doesn't work, I can always put these, cute little patches over it. So that's what I did. And I'll show you that.
What a wonderful idea, because that's my problem since COVID. I've put on a little poundage, and I don't really want to wait. I enjoy eating. This is one of my outlets.
Yeah.
So, at this point, but I'm thinking if I, like these pants, if I could expand the waist.
Yeah, it was.
Then patch it.
Do you have a sewing machine?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really pretty easy.
Cool.
I think this is going to be my last stitch here. So then I'm going to tie it off again.
Yeah, I refuse to go to the next size up, so I'll just make.
Yep, that's kind of how I felt too. I was like, well, I'll just make this work, and I did.
That's great.
Okay, and let's see. Let's leave this through here.
So now you're just tying it off, like getting it ready to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just basically getting it so the end is kind of between the layers of fabric over there. Okay, and there's that.
That's sweet.
So see, this is, so now I'm able to kind of keep the fun distressed look of the shorts, but I've added so much more personality to it.
You did.
Yeah.
I love that.
So the pants that I was just talking about, let me show you those. So that was this pair. And so see all these patches on the sides? This is because I added, this is the denim that I added here. So I cut here, and then I just used a zigzag stitch to stitch this in. I folded oh yeah, here you can see the piece. This is, I folded it so that it would still be like a waistband. I didn't want it just raw up here, and plus it wouldn't be as sturdy. So I folded it and put, this half on the back, and then just a little bit here on the front. And it looked terrible when I was done. I hated it. I was like, well, I can't wear it like that. But of course, I knew that I could do this. So these ones on the end, I folded over so that, again, it would kind of make a sturdier waistband. And then I just covered up some of the other areas using more fabric than would have been necessary to just cover it. But I thought that would be Here's the other side.
That is wonderful. I'm doing that.
So now, you know, I can wear them. And here too, you know, so it came with all these tears, and it had another one down here. And I like to roll these kind of shorts up. I don't like them just like this, like these. When I wear them, I roll these up too. And I thought, well, I'm always trying to keep them rolled up. So in this case, I actually just sewed it down, and I thought, let's just be deliberate with it all the way. And that's why I put this patch over it. And I can still roll it up one more if I want to. And in case I do, that's why I have this one that was on the inside, because I think it looks cute that you can kind of see it with this other patch here. So it's so many opportunities to have fun with it. I showed you the